Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to another quick shot review. This week we're going old school because there's not been much I could go and watch at the cinema and not poke my own eyes out or fall asleep, because the only film I'd like to watch is about 3.5 hours long and I don't have that kind of patience at the moment. So I've gone back to one of my favourites, and it is a very divisive film. It is one that splits opinion, but I'm going to try and give my view on this particular film, and it is Paranormal Activity, a film that produced many sequels. It was released in 2007 and considered to be a bit of a trend setter back to the sort of reality-based films where handycams come in. Bit of a revival of the Blair Witch, which I think I ought to watch that as well and give you a bit of an old school review on that one. But Paranormal Activity, I'm going to give you the blurb and I'm going to run down everything you need to know about Paranormal Activity just in case you've never seen it. It is worth watching and forming your own opinion on this, as with all films. So after moving into a suburban home, a couple becomes increasingly disturbed by a nightly demonic presence. Now, there is a lot to love about this film. The effects are really good. They're very basic, but they're done really well. And the reason this is compared to Blair Witch quite a lot is that it's done on a shoestring budget, and then the sequels actually have more budget, obviously. A bit like Saw and, like I say, Blair Witch, they've had big budget sequels based on the first one. So this film is about two young people, a young couple, Mika and Katie, and they move into this house, and it must be that they have rich parents or something, because this house is really big and quite full on for a young couple. And Katie drives a soft top, and her sister has a swimming pool and all this kind of stuff, and Mika has enough money to buy a camera and all this kind of stuff, so he must have a decent job as well. I think he's some kind of editor, but he gets obsessed with these occurrences that happen throughout the course of the runtime. And the thing that happens with this film is that it gives you nightly updates, and he sets up a static cam which is sped up quite a lot, and then shows the occurrences which start off really mundane and get progressively much more intense as we move along in the timeline. And where Mika is a bit of a skeptic, you've got Katie, who is absolutely terrified. And the thing I don't like about this movie is that it's, I suppose you do get them, but it's kind of, Mika's so much of a skeptic that he does things to annoy the demonic presence that's in the house, which is really dumb. And you'd expect dumb things to happen in horror movies. I wouldn't exactly call this a horror. I would say this is more of a psychological thriller. But you'd expect things to happen like that. So he, at one point, obviously gets the Ouija board out, and obviously he's never seen The Exorcist, because that's how that film starts. Anyway, like I say, the progression of this film, it's slow, but it's creepy. There's at least one point where the occurrences are so bad, where the door slams and Katie gets dragged down the hallway, etc., which are done really, really well. And like I say, on a shoestring budget, makes it quite intense. I remember the first time I saw this film, and it was great. I loved it, and I watched it again recently, and I still loved it. And it was, like I say, some people, a bit like Blair Witch, will say this film is dumb. They won't like it. It's not for them. That's fine. But as a connoisseur, I suppose, of found footage films, I love Blair Witch. I love this movie, Paranormal Activity. Another one, Grave Encounters. If you've never seen that and you can get yourself a copy of that, that is a good film set in an abandoned asylum and based on the paranormal TV shows, you know, where the ghost hunters go and they try and find the ghosts in the haunted places, etc. But that's done really well, and obviously that's a shoestring budget as well. But I absolutely love Paranormal Activity. I've rewatched, and still love this film. It is, like I say, released in 2007. It's a 15, so there is some mild swearing, but obviously there's nothing full on. There's no blood or killing or anything like that. Nothing over the top. And it is around about an hour and a half long, so it's a decent length to enjoy the film as well. And it's kind of a lost art now. It's, having a decent time scale of movie. But we've got Katie Featherston playing Katie, and this is what makes it real. This is the viral marketing of Paranormal Activity that just got people's attention. Like, again, a bit like Blair Witch, but obviously the Blair Witch at the time was viral, and that was 99. That was 1999. Before the internet became widely available, I would say. And certainly before broadband and Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. Mika Sloat plays Mika. We've got a psychic played by Mark Fredericks. Amber Armstrong plays Amber. Ashley Palmer plays Diane. And that is your whole lot. The director is Oren Peli, and he also did the writing for this as well. Like I say, it spawned sequels: Paranormal Activity 2, Paranormal Activity 3, Paranormal Activity 4, Ghost Dimension, Next of Kin, are all part of that franchise, and Next of Kin was the last one. Now, I have the first three. Again, very divisive films. Different people will think different things. But the first three, I think, are absolutely excellent. I didn't like the second one when I first watched it, but having watched it again, it makes more sense. There's a bit of a funny timeline with these films because Paranormal Activity 3 is actually a prequel, and it follows Katie and her sister as they are kids and disturbed by this demonic force that is attached to them, so to speak. And I'm not going to spoil the ending of Paranormal Activity and what they find and things like that, but a lot of Paranormal Activity makes sense if you watch Paranormal Activity 2 and Paranormal Activity 3. They do a good job of creating a bigger story, long-term storytelling, so to speak. So I absolutely love Paranormal Activity, as I've mentioned before. I think that if you've not seen it, it's worth a shot. Like I say, so it's not particularly scary, but if you watch it in a dark room with the sound up, it does have its moments, and especially if you don't know what's coming and when it's coming, then it will catch you off guard. And like I say, that's a bit of a lost art in horror films these days. But yeah, I'd recommend watching it, definitely. I do plan on going back to the cinema. Well, the last couple of weeks has been a bit hectic with things, and I'm gonna start going back to the cinema again because I love the cinema. I just need something decent to be on in order to go and watch something, and I've exhausted everything that I want to watch without, like I say, without having to be there for 3.5 hours, which I don't ever plan on doing. That particular film, I'm going to wait to come on streaming or find a way of renting it at home where I can perhaps watch that particular film in 2 parts. But that is my review of Paranormal Activity from 2007. Bit of an old school film for you, and not a new film, but again, it's the beauty of something that is classed as a first, or the first of something, giving you something that's slightly different. Saw did it in 2004, for example, and Blair Witch in 1999. It's very rare that you get something new these days. So yeah, there you go. That is my review. And I will see you next time on Cheap Shot Entertainment Quick Shot Reviews. You've been the Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host, Luke, and I will say goodbye. Hiya.